So they lost out on DeMarcus Cousins, but the New Orleans Pelicans signed Julius Randle to a 2-year deal. I believe there's a player option in the second season. And my immediate reaction to this, as it is for probably a lot of people, is how are Randle and Anthony Davis going to fit, right? Now, I don't think Randle will start. I think it's going to be Davis at the center position and Mirotic at power forward, which, I mean, we've seen it for 2 years in a row now. When Anthony Davis plays the center position, his value just increases significantly because he's just around the basket more, right? He can protect the rim, protect the paint, grab more rebounds. A lot of NBA centers can't deal with him, whereas NBA power forwards, they can't deal with him either, but they probably have a little easier of a time than centers do. And, I mean, if we remember his point totals and his overall stats totals down the stretch of last season, dude was putting up like 40 points kind of regularly. And, of course, this team got to the second round and all that. And then 2 years ago, they moved him to center, and the Pelicans were able to go on a pretty decent streak towards the second half of the year when they started off the first half just being pretty bad. So, right then and there, that's going to make me like this team a lot. I think offensively, the fit of Davis and Mirotic together, it makes sense. Mirotic can shoot, Davis can do his thing, there you go. But, as I said, the focus of this video is mainly Randle and Davis, and then Randle and Mirotic. So the first thing, defensively, I think Randle and Davis together could be something. Because Randle, I think, was a pretty good defender last season. I don't think he was perfect. And I think depending on whatever night you were watching the Lakers, you may have saw maybe a down night for him or maybe even an average one. But there were definitely moments where he was really good at switching onto ball handlers, playing good one-on-one defense, and using that big frame combined with the fact that he lost so much weight for increased athleticism to be a pretty decent defender. But he was playing the center position a lot of times. Here, Davis would play the 5, of course, because you want his rim protection and all that. Can Randle defend NBA power forwards consistently night to night? I think there's a chance. I think he could stay in front of someone like a Tobias Harris, for example. I think he could have the strength to deal with like Blake Griffin in the post. I can picture him being able to stay with like Paul Millsap, guys like that. So, could be some good things there. I think with Randle, his physical nature is farther along defensively than where he is mentally, but I do think, once again, he improved a bit last season. So, could he be this guy who can still switch onto smaller players and actually have a chance? Maybe not be like Draymond levels, but being like maybe like Al Horford levels or maybe a little below that. That's still pretty damn good. And then he can be this strong dude who can defend some bigs. And then you've got Davis who can just... I mean, Davis to me is an all-world defensive player. So you combine those two and you could really have something defensively. I mean, we've seen Anthony Davis make the Pelicans one of the best defensive teams in the league kind of by himself. I mean, Drew's a good defender, of course. But he never had like another big who could really make an impact on that side of the floor. Well, to be fair, Dante Cunningham wasn't bad. But he is nowhere near as strong as Randle is, so yeah, I think what they can do on defense could be something. Now, offensively, not as seamless. Randle, I think he's shown like effort in improving on his jumper, but it's not a thing for him. If you're going to be looking for someone to space the floor next to Davis, then that's going to be Mirotic. And the thing with Randle is we saw towards like the second half of last season is he was doing a lot of work in the post, right? Where he faces up to the basket and then he just uses that 250-pound frame to just bulldoze his way to the basket and draw fouls, finish inside. And he was putting up some really good points towards the end of last season. I don't think we're going to see that as much when he's playing with Anthony Davis for obvious reasons. Those reasons being give Anthony Davis the damn ball. So I could picture some times where it is potentially a little awkward, where Randle is lingering from around mid-range or maybe even close to the basket, because that's what he just naturally does, and then Davis is running something, whether it's a post-up or a face-up or a pick-and-roll or driving to the basket because he just beat a big off the dribble or something, and Randle could sometimes be in the way. I'm not saying this will make the offense bad, and hell, I mean, Randle, I think he's a good enough ball handler to where if you just leave him open, he can just get a head of steam towards the basket, and then once again, who the hell's stopping this guy once he gets going towards the rim? So there's room for it to go well, and I do think he's okay at like kind of lingering off the ball smartly, I guess, but I could also see some times where there are some spacing issues. But another thing is, if I can go back to the defense, these two are going to force a lot of stops, and both of them can dribble. So you could see situations where, like, Davis contests a shot, and then Randle gets the rebound, and then Randle takes it up floor himself, and then Davis just goes into a sprint and then beats everybody down the floor, including perimeter players, and he scores at the rim, or vice versa with Davis, and Randle just gets running in transition. Or either one of them gets a rebound and then they start going. So those are ways that they can generate some more offense. This team played super fast down the end of last season, and I think there's a chance we could see them do that again. So there's all that for you. Now if we can get to Randle and Mirotic, because I think this is important as well. And I think a regular rotation with these three could be something like you start the game with Davis and Mirotic, and then probably Mirotic goes out and Randle goes in at the 4. You finish that lineup out until the first quarter ends, and then you go with Randle at center, Mirotic at power forward, you know? And you'd probably need one other big to get some minutes, and, you know, between Solomon Hill playing small ball 4 and whoever the hell else is on this roster that I don't remember, I guess they could make it work. Mirotic and Randle together is interesting. Defensively, I think Randle helps out Mirotic because, you know, Nikola's not the best defender in the world, although I don't think he's, like, bad either. In fact, I think you could argue that Mirotic is just flat out a good defender. Not a great one, but a decent one, which is awesome next to Davis and Randle. So there's a chance that Mirotic at the 4, and then Randle, if he can keep improving defensively, could be decent, and you know, Randle can play the 5 and do some switchy things and just be a big body around the rim, which is not that bad of a thing, really. And you can survive and maybe even be a positive defensive team still with those guys, and then, you know, Davis comes back in, and then you're probably a really good defensive team after that. Offensively, with Randle and Mirotic, I think we could see times where you go with, like, you know, you space the floor out. You go Randle and, like, Drew Holiday or something in a pick and roll. Mirotic chills in the corner. If the help defense comes, Randle kicks it out to him, because we remember Randle's a decent enough passer. That's a source of offense. Now, of course, Randle is not as intimidating of a scorer as Davis, but to be fair to him, the thing that I mentioned earlier about all of his face-ups that are not going to happen as much when Davis is in the game, you'll probably see more of those when it's him and Mirotic, so there's a chance that Randle could still generate some offense for himself when Davis is not in there, and there's a chance he could have some decent spacing around him when he's doing it, so that's good stuff. And we should talk about the spacing on this team. You know, between Drew, who, well, his three-point shot, it did fall off a bit last season. I do think defenders still respect him. You got him, Mirotic, Etuan Moore, Darius Miller, Anthony Davis occasionally. I mean, even if Davis is just chilling like 15 feet from the basket, the defense is still going to stay attached to him. So, in a way, that's spacing. It's not bad, you know? It might just be enough to where Randle can be successful. I mean, Davis will be successful no matter what you do, but I think Randle could also have enough room to operate to where he'll be good in the post. So, some good things. I think the potential of Randle and Davis is really something defensively, and then offensively. Might have to work at it a little bit more, but it could be a thing. And then the 3-man rotation between Randle, Davis, and Mirotic could be good stuff. And amongst all these things, the biggest thing is, it once again, it moves Anthony Davis to center. And when he's at the center position, let me put it like this. to describe how pro Davis at center I am. When he's at the 5 spot, a part of me believes that he's actually the best player in the league, and none of us totally realize it yet. I mean, around 1 against the Blazers, he put up 33 and 12 while being a defensive force. And even as his team lost to the Warriors in 5, he put up a hot 28, 15, 2 steals, 2 blocks, playing 41 minutes a game. And funny enough, while pretty much his whole team was in the negatives in terms of like offensive and defensive rating in that round 2 series against Golden State, Davis's offensive rating 102, his defensive rating 101, which, you know, is actually impressive given that his team got trounced so many times in that series. Dude's really good at the 5 spot, is what I'm getting at. So, yeah, I'm intrigued by Julius Randle with the Pels.